Yo, what is up, guys? It's coming back here again tonight with another video. I want to talk about Jalen Suggs for a little bit. This isn't going to be a super long video just because I'm only talking about one guy, but Jalen Suggs deserves his own video. He deserves a shout out, especially after what he just did. In case you missed it, Gonzaga and UCLA playing in overtime, tied with about 3.7 seconds left. Jalen Suggs is inbounded the ball, hits a near half-court three-point off the bank to win the game for Gonzaga, send them to the national championship. One of the greatest shots in college basketball history, if not basketball history. Incredible shot. And Jalen Suggs, top 5 prospect, leading the Gonzaga Bulldogs to a national championship potentially if they win on Monday. He's a stud. And he is a bona fide top 5 pick. I think everyone knows that. But if there's anyone that's been raising their draft stock throughout this tournament, it's Jalen Suggs. Especially with a shot like that, I would not be surprised to see Suggs go as high as 2, if not, actually, nah, he won't go 1. Cade Cunningham's kind of locked into that spot, but I wanted to talk about why I think Jalen Suggs is such a good player, why I think he has the potential to be a superstar and turn around a franchise immediately, and that's what I'm going to get into in this video. So I hope you guys enjoy this. I know it's something a little different. I'm typically talking NBA basketball and not really college basketball, so this is a little different. Hope you guys enjoy it. If you do like these college basketball videos, I can make more about prospects leading up to the draft, especially. I can do some research and stuff like that. Let me know what you think about that. Maybe like a mock draft. We'll see. But Cade Cunningham is the number 1 guy. It makes sense why he's the number 1 guy. He can do pretty much everything for your team. He's tall. I think he's around 6'7", so he's got a lot of height for a point guard, and he can handle the ball. He can shoot. He can slash. He can get guys open through passing. He's a good rebounder. He just really does everything well, and it makes sense that he's the number 1 overall pick. But when you get past him, you have a couple guys that could be that 2, 3, 4, 5 guy. And you have Evan Mobley, who I think will probably end up being the 2nd overall pick. You have Jalen Suggs, who I'm talking about in this video. You have Jalen Green, who is a guy that played in the G League and played some tougher competition, I guess you could say, there rather than college basketball. And so he thrived there. He's a guy that a lot of people think should be the 2nd, 3rd overall pick rather than any of those other 2 guys that I mentioned because of the way he showed up playing in the G League. And then you have Jonathan Kuminga, the youngest out of all those guys, I believe. I think he was only 18 playing when he was playing in part of the G League bubble, or around early 19. But he is really good. He's a small forward, but I think he is the number 5 guy out of that 5-man group right now. I think it's Cade Cunningham, and then I think it's Jonathan Kuminga as the 1 and 5 guys. And those next 3 spots is completely up to whichever team or what the team likes best at each position. And I'm not going to talk about Mobley and Green that much. I'll give you a quick rundown of them. Mobley, great center out of USC, South Carolina, or not South Carolina, Southern California. Ignore me there, got mixed up with my USCs for a second. But Evan Mobley is really good, stretches the floor, can defend. He's got the tools to be a good defender. Really good ball handler for his size. Reminds me a lot of Jokic in terms of the way that he can kind of just handle the ball despite being a massive guy. Evan Mobley's going to be really good. And I think for that reason, he's kind of like a unicorn type player, and he will probably be the 2nd overall pick. I talked about Jalen Green a little bit. Played in the G League, really showed out. He can slash. He's got a solid jumper, super athletic, and I think he has the potential to be a dynamic scorer. And then you have Jalen Suggs, who is a point guard like Cade Cunningham, but he's smaller. He is a more traditional height for a point guard, but he does everything well. And I think he's perfectly equipped to handle a modern NBA offense. When you see him play, he has his hands on every single play. Even if he isn't getting a stat for it, like an assist, he's not getting a bucket, he's not grabbing the rebound, he's doing something on every single play. And we'll start with his offensive side of the ball. He is fast as hell. And in today's modern NBA, where you want players to get out and run, most coaches run a system where you run and gun, shoot threes, get the ball up the court, get it to your best players, get it to shooters, stuff like that. Jalen Suggs has the speed and the ball handling to get that ball up the court. We just saw that with his buzzer beater shot. He got that ball all the way past half court in just a few seconds. He turned around, caught it, and ran up the court and got the shot up in 3.7 seconds. He has speed, and he's really high IQ. He knows exactly when the shot clock's going off. He knows exactly who he needs to get the ball to, and that IQ ties in really well with his playmaking, which is incredible. Jalen Suggs gets guys open. You don't even know you're open until he throws the pass to you, and you're like, oh, shoot, I got to go catch that ball. And when you go and catch it, you look around, you're like, oh, my God, I'm open somehow. He is dynamic. He does everything so well. Defensively, he is a monster on that end of the ball. He has the tools to be a hard-nosed defender like a Chris Paul is, I think, what I would equate him to in terms of defensive ability, except he's more athletic. We saw him block a shot in the UCLA game that was super clutch, which ended up in him then getting an assist, running the ball down the court and getting it to the open man under the basket. I think it was Timmy. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it was. Either way, his ability to make those defensive plays and turn them into offensive opportunities is a huge part of today's game, especially his ability to, like I said, to get the ball up the court as quick as possible to convert that bucket in a high-paced offense like a lot of teams in the NBA run right now. I think he would fit in perfectly with pretty much any team that's fighting for that bottom lottery spot. We could talk about the Timberwolves. I think he would fit perfectly on them. I'm not going to talk about Cade Cunningham. I'm just going to talk about Jalen Suggs here because Cade Cunningham would also fit very well. But Suggs, being able to run up the floor, get the ball to Karl-Anthony Towns, a pick and roll or a pick and pop with Suggs and Towns is incredible. You add in the fact that he would have a threat in D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Edwards on the wings, that team becomes really fun. I think Jalen Suggs would be a great pickup for the Wolves if they're able to get him. We could talk about like a Detroit Pistons. It might be a little interesting to see how that works with him and Killian Hayes. Maybe Killian Hayes tries to slide over to the 2 or they see what they have there. But I think if Suggs is available, I think the Pistons would definitely look at taking him. You can't, in the NBA draft, you have to pick talent over best fit. That's the way you kind of have to go in this league because you can try and pick guys that fit your team, but then you end up with busts because you want the most talented guy. The NBA is a superstar-dominated league. You need the most talented guys. You need the superstar-type players, and I think Suggs can become that. We could talk about the Houston Rockets. He could get opportunity to learn from John Wall. John Wall, Jalen Suggs reminds me a lot of John Wall in terms of his ability to run the ball up the court. He is really athletic, and he shows a lot of promise on the defensive end of the ball. John Wall and him remind me a lot of each other. And if he had the opportunity to learn behind John Wall for a season or two, that would be pretty big for Jalen Suggs. I think he would be a great pickup. His ability to throw lobs to Christian Wood, pick and roll, pick and pop type stuff. Work with Kevin Porter Jr. on the wing. There's a lot of potential there. Add him, and then you have Christian Wood, who can develop into a better defensive player. He's not great right now, but he has the tools to become better defensively. But you put him next to like a guy like Jayshawn Tate, who's a good defender, and you start to build a solid defensive core there, especially if Kevin Porter Jr. can kind of fix up some of his defensive issues. So you've got that as well. I'm going to talk about the Thunder real quick. He would work beautifully with SGA. SGA does have the ball in his hands a lot, but I think it would help him tremendously to have someone else be able to take the ball from him at times and make his own plays, because SGA sometimes has, or our team has this problem where SGA is the only guy that can score the ball. He's the only guy that can really make opportunities for himself at times. We have guys like Teo Maladon who's able to, but he's only 19 years old. He's still figuring the game out. And if you bring in a guy like Suggs, who's more polished, he has higher potential, put him next to SGA and let them both kind of handle the ball at times. That's an incredible backcourt pairing. I would love to see that. If we can't get Cade Cunningham, Jalen Suggs is probably the next guy I want. Or Evan Mobley. One of those three guys. I want one of those three guys. Green and Kuminga are cool too, but I want probably one of those three guys if I had to pick right now. So the Thunder, I think he would be an incredible fit with us as well. We saw SGA thrive with Chris Paul. I think he would definitely thrive with Jalen Suggs, a young up-and-coming player who, once again, like I said earlier, I think has superstar potential. Who else is at the bottom of the NBA standings right now? I was trying to think of other teams that could really benefit from him. I mean, if he ends up on the Golden State Warriors, if the Wolves pick falls out of the top 3 and he does end up falling to that 4th spot and the Warriors pick him up, I mean, that's just incredible. Maybe you could play Suggs would be a great 6-man if you want to. If you really wanted to go crazy, you could put him at the 1 spot, put Curry at the 2, Clay at the 3, Drummond at the 4, Wiseman at the 5. If the Warriors decide not to deal that pick, that's a good potential learning opportunity for Suggs to get to learn from Steph and Curry is incredible. So that's just an example of how some teams could use him, and I think he would work perfectly in all those offenses. All those teams I talked about kind of like to get out and run the ball, especially if I'm talking about the Thunder. I know we love to get the ball out in transition, we love to run it up, shoot threes. We shoot a ton of threes even though we're bad at it, and so he would be a perfect player for that system. So in conclusion, Jalen Suggs is really good. I just wanted to talk about him for a little bit because he's become one of my favorite prospects as I've watched him play, and especially with him making that shot that he made earlier in the night, I feel like this is the perfect opportunity to make that video. Once again, let me know if you like these college basketball type things. I could make mock drafts. I could talk more about college basketball. I think when the tournament wraps up, I am going to make a video covering pretty much every prospect that I liked, did not like in the tournament, who rose in my opinion, who fell, and I'll probably end up making a mock draft, or some video about who I would take in the draft at each position closer to the draft when we figure out the order specifically. I think the lottery is June 22nd, so we're like only like 2 months away now, which is kind of crazy. So when that rolls around, I'll probably make that video. If I forget to, remind me. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much about it. Let me know what you think about Jalen Suggs. Let me know who you would take 1 through 5 if you were a GM. Who goes in that 2 spot for you after Cade Cunningham? Do you take Jalen Suggs? Do you go for an Evan Mobley who has a unicorn potential? Do you go for Jalen Green who showed out against higher competition or higher level competition? Or do you go for Jonathan Kuminga, the young guy who's also shown a lot of potential? So with that being said, I will see you guys later. Ruins.